I am Yabo and Nebi, and welcome to episode 42 of CinemaVerse Podcast, a conversation on Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Throughout this episode, me and my co-host for today will relay upon you guys what our expectations going into the show were, how we felt about some of the more overt aspects of the miniseries, give you guys our personal rankings of the episodes, and come to a consensus on the order. So come and join us as we enter the Marvel Cinematic Universe once again and deep dive into Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Before all that, Nebi, you are back. You weren't here on the last episode. Last episode was Shiva, baby. I'll recommend going check that out. Me, Andrew, and Billy really went deep into that movie. Nebs is back though. My boy Nebi.
Yo, must be guys. Yeah, I'm back after about a week or so. I'm here, bro. Today we're gonna be
Uh,
talking about Falcon, Winter Soldier.
yeah. Have you come on another episode since Wandavision? Well,
Oh,
actually, yeah, two or three episodes. Godzilla vs Kong and the 2021 to 2021 most anticipated. Those were the two that we did afterwards. But on WandaVision, that was the first MCU based miniseries. Well, would you refer to these as shows or miniseries?
I would say shows. I'm not really educated in film terminology though.
I mean, shows, they're not always. Shows are usually, in my mind, full on shows with full on, like, when I think of a show, it's either a Breaking Bad, which is 11 or 10 episodes a season, but it's 50-minute long episodes each, or it's most sitcoms are like a Friends or a How I Met Your Mother, which is 20-25 episodes in 20 minutes each. So overall, it usually averages out towards like 400, but like roughly 400 to 500 minutes. I'm not sure where exactly Falcon and Winter. I think these two have been right around that 300-minute range, right?
Yeah.
So they just, I'm not sure if this is the right definition. This is kind of how I define a show versus a mini series, which is a bit shorter. I think for Falcon and the Winter Soldier, another definition just came to mind because miniseries are usually one season, and it's just that one, like Band of Brothers, which is a war miniseries that came out a while back. That's one season, came out like in 2000. It was one serialized season, all telling one story, and that was it. It was pretty much a super long movie. And while I do think Falcon and the Winter Soldier is a bit of a super long movie in and of itself, I kind of just convinced myself to think of it as a show because we might get into this a bit later. Well, let's get into it now. Nebi, do you think there's going to be a season two? Or I think there's going to be a season two as per the ending. Are you anticipating a season two at this point?
I feel like these are all like trying to lead up to like a new set of movies. These shows, I'm not expecting like shows to be happening during movies. I feel like that'd be getting too complicated. So I think they're trying to release all the shows and the movies are coming back.
The MCU is getting really big. I know, Nebs, does this aggravate you how big the MCU is getting?
No, I mean, this is good content.
Yeah, I mean, you saw how high that voice went. That man was straight up lying. This man, deep down, is angered. He is infuriated by how good but just how big Marvel is getting. But before we get into the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Nebs, do you know what is this Sunday?
This Sunday?
Yeah.
No, what's happening Sunday? Oh, Loki comes out maybe? Yeah.
Nah,
Loki?
this Sunday is the Oscars. I know you're not as big of a movie fan as me. Are you gonna watch the Oscars, Nebi?
I have no next to the Oscars.
Yeah, no. I am 99% sure, but I wanted to ask you this question because I'm pretty sure you have seen none of these movies. Have you seen any of the Academy Award nominees for Best Picture? The Minari, Sound of Metal, Mank, Promising Young Woman, The Father, Judas and the Black Messiah, The Trial of the Chicago 7, or Nomadland. Have you seen any of these?
Man, those are oh no, I haven't seen any of them.
That's what I expected. I know you're not as big of a movie watcher as I am. You've seen all of Falcon and the Winter Soldier though, and that is why we are here. We are about to review it for you guys. First up, Nebi, let's get into what some of our expectations going into the show were. Or what did you expect? How good did you think it was going to be? Did WandaVision play any factor in that? Did
That's
any of those you're watching right now play a factor in how high or low your expectations were?
One division definitely lowered my expectations because I didn't really like that sub series.
Hmm.
Um, but I really had little like guesses of what this movie was, what the show was going to be about. They kept it very vague, unlike One Division's trailers. And I had no idea what was going to happen.
In WandaVision or in Falcon and the Winter Soldier?
In the Winter Soldier. I feel like in the One Division, you can't kind of tell what was gonna occur.
Yeah, I think nobody really went into WandaVision not knowing what was about to happen in WandaVision. Falcon and the Winter Soldier, going in, I had no idea what plot they were going to go for. And that's actually one of the things that kind of, well, we'll get a bit more into that later on in our categorical thoughts. But just personally, expectations wise, unlike Nebi, I liked WandaVision. But I don't think WandaVision necessarily set my expectations high for me. First of all, I don't think it was like amazing. I liked it. I think in the episode I gave it like a B plus, which is pretty good. I might after some time now. I think I would move that down to a B. Nevertheless, I liked the show. I really enjoyed it. It got a bit worse for me as it went on, but I was kind of able to separate that because I knew WandaVision and Falcon and the Winter Soldier style wise were going to be really different. I think, as with any Marvel product, and I think Nebi might agree with this, where Marvel doesn't really put out bad products per se, and everything that they do is like automatically, it's not gonna, it's not gonna be bad. So I guess I was going in with more of those expectations where I was like, I know it's not gonna be bad. My expectations aren't super high going into Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I hope that it's really good because personally, I think the Captain America trilogy is the best of the trilogies of the. Which one would you say, Captain America, Iron Man, and Thor of the three trilogies? Because
That's of course. Oh man, out of the trilogies,
I think Captain America is the only one without as I said, there's no bad movies in the bunch, but
mm,
without a mediocre film. Personally, I find Thor: The Dark World, while I like it a lot more than most people, it's still pretty mediocre and forgettable. Right, the first Thor is pretty good. Thor Ragnarok, you can go back to any of the episodes. Yeah, I love that movie, and I might think it's the best of all the Marvel, but nevertheless, it has one kind of bad one in the crop. And then when it comes to Iron Man, OG Iron Man is a great movie. Iron Man 2 and Iron Man 3, I, I don't have like a super close connection with either of the movies, and I personally think Iron Man 2 is okay. Iron Man 3 I liked more than others once again, but I think both of those movies are just like between mediocre and above average, right? Somewhere in between the two. Captain America, I think all three of the movies are at least good. The last two movies, Winter Soldier and Civil War, are just two of probably my top 5 or 10 MCU movies in general. That's kind of why I put it why I put the trilogy as the top of the bunch.
yeah, it's not even fair, bro. If you count like Civil War, that's almost not even a Captain America movie. That's closer to an Avengers movie than a Captain America movie. Yeah,
I mean, yeah, but it still counts as a part of the Captain America trilogy, so I'm gonna count it. So which one would you say? Top of the
oh yeah,
which?
in that case.
So yeah, I guess going off of movie wise, I guess though the fact that the Captain America trilogy is my favorite and Falcon and the Winter Soldier are two characters that you know who haven't really had their own solo ventures or they've always been the sidekicks. And I mean that's the whole point of the show. These are two sidekicks now partnering up and getting main stage. I was excited to see that. I don't think that necessarily raised the bar for me. The fact that this is a Captain America product did raise the bar a bit for me, though. Now, before we make the people who came here just to see what our thoughts were leave, before we get into any spoilers, unless you're just a weird person, you don't care about spoilers, Nebs, overall spoiler-free thoughts on Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and go ahead and give us what you would give the show as a letter grade.
Okay, spoiler free thoughts. I liked it. It was pretty good overall. I enjoyed it. I thought it was. it was political, but I was not expecting that really cut. After episode 3, I was like,
The
bro,
thing
this is
is about the politics. We'll get more into that in the categorical thoughts because it was a deeper show than I anticipated. But looking back, it makes sense. I'll get more into why later. But go ahead, Nebi.
yeah. I'm not gonna lie, like the acting was good. I thought the script was pretty good. Even though like there's some things I might not like about it. I
Hmm.
thought overall it was enjoyable. I like the fight scenes. It
Hmm.
was a good show. It was a good show, in my opinion.
What would you give it as a letter grade?
Well, I want to. Damn, I let's agree. I'm gonna say a B, but I swear.
A B.
I'm gonna say-
This is compared to the what was it, a C or a C minus that you gave to uh WandaVision? You gave WandaVision a C minus. This is a full letter and a half up, which is a is a pretty is a pretty big jump when you think about it.
Yeah.
Now, for me, the show, as Nevi said, it was enjoyable. I think when it comes to WandaVision, I liked the show throughout. Towards the end, I really started to fall off. I almost fell asleep in the last episode. This show, while falling into a bit of the same traps, didn't have that same effect as I think all of the episodes up until the last one really had me engaged. The last one also had me engaged, but not at the same level. As Nebi said, this is a very enjoyable show. The first action scene with Falcon had I think both of us because I remember we talked about I think both of us were a bit worried about how good the action were going to be going on, or we didn't have the most faith in it after that first opening action scene, which wasn't necessarily bad. It just wasn't anything special. Uh, and but going on, the action scenes were pretty good overall. The final action scenes, the ones in the last episode, I would say are probably some of the best. One in particular, which I'll get into later. Um, Show itself, letter grade wise, I'm gonna have to match Neb's with a B. It's it's the definition of enjoyable. When it comes to the politics, everything doesn't land. Uh, when it comes to the script, it did feel it was well put together. It did feel rushed at a lot of points. Well, actually, because of that, the script itself feels a bit rushed towards the end. I kind of know why there are excuses for that, which aren't fully like you have the excuses so you can get away with it, but there are reasons for that, especially with the pandemic. But because of that, I'm going to move it down to B minus because the script isn't as strong as I feel it could have been. The
What did you give?
dialogue is, huh?
What did you give WandaVision?
WandaVision, I gave a B plus originally. I'm in hindsight, I think I'll move it down to a B, just a straight up B. I think Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I'm not sure. Like Falcon and the Winter Soldier and WandaVision, they're pretty different overall. I want to put Falcon and the Winter Soldier over WandaVision because it was more consistent for me. But WandaVision, I think I enjoyed the first half much more than I enjoyed any part of Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Um,
Uh, Maybe by the end of this conversation, I'll change around, but that will be the end of spoiler free thoughts from this point on. Both me and Nebi are free to spoil whatever we want to. If you've seen the show, go ahead, listen on. If you haven't, I would recommend not listening on, which might hurt the business, but I don't want to get anything spoiled for you guys. Now, getting a bit more into specifics on the show, I had three things in particular that I wanted to talk about before we get into our individual lists. If you want to skip around, there will be timestamps. Just you can see on the red place where you would skip around. You can go there. If you're on Spotify or any audio networks, it will be in the description, so you can skip around there. Firstly, is the dynamics, and by dynamics, I just mean characters. How do they interact? All the different character pairings and the acting. Nebi, you talked a bit about the acting early on. You said it was pretty good. Well, you want to expand on that? You want to get into some specifics?
well, my favorite character probably was the initial Captain America in this entire series, and I feel like he
Okay.
really embodied. I feel like everybody basically embodied the emotion
Hmm.
of the characters. Like, no, at no point was I like so cheesy or like this doesn't seem real. I mean, I didn't. I mean, I did think that, but like. Not
There's definitely
the
uh
act.
there are definitely points where I thought that, but
Yeah. No, that's because of the script.
yeah,
Not
yeah,
because
I don't think that's due to the actors. You're right.
yeah, and basically acting was great. The acting was really good. I'm not really
I
the be. I don't like. I'm kind of shocked at myself for liking the show. Lately I've been hating like shows.
I talked about this a bit in my on my main channel. I did not a review, but kind of a critique of WandaVision's ending. And in there I said that, what really makes the MCU excel and what has probably made it as big of a thing as it is the characters. And a big aspect of why I like so many of these characters is the acting. I think Marvel has almost always just landed on the casting of who they choose. I mean, Robert Downey Jr., he is Iron Man, that man. Chris Evans, Chris Hemsworth, all around great casting. Here, I mean, same thing. There's great casting all around. I haven't read a whole bunch of the comics, so when it comes to appearances from one to the other, I know in the comics, Nick Fury is white, and Samuel L. Jackson plays him in the movies. Which,
No way. That's crazy.
yeah, but outside, I'm not a big comic reader, so overall, like the casting of these, and I'm going off of how I see the characters and who is playing those characters. I feel they've always done a good job with that, and likewise. Since the casting is so good, the acting in it itself and how they embody the characters is pretty good overall. I, as you said, I have a problem with the dialogue, and that's more due to the script than the actors. A lot of the dialogue in this just felt scripted to me. It feels like something that I know for sure was written by a person. It didn't feel natural, which
Yeah.
I am gonna have to. I mean, we're not giving points here. We're not gonna actually give ratings like we do on our other movie reviews. But I would have to dock some points for that. I
I,
just
I think we're looking at the same. We're thinking about that same scene.
not just overall. This is something that I consistently, because I knew we were going to do this podcast. I consistently wrote down in, or like I consistently thought this just doesn't feel right to me. This was especially throughout the first 3 episodes. It
Yeah.
dissipated a bit in the last few episodes, but it came back in on the final episode when Falcon was talking to the GRC heads, like the reporters, and he gives that whole monologue, the speech about how those people, they're not really think of the other people, and you know the big scene, right?
The I don't know. I didn't want to get into it.
I mean, we might have to, because that's overall, as I've listened to other people talk about the show and the finale in overall, it's it's not really loved. People are, it's a consensus that that scene isn't that good. I think it was okay for like the first 30 seconds, and then it just kept going for like 4 minutes, which just wasn't needed. I do think the later scene with what's the other, the super soldier's name, the black super soldier.
Get active. Not even a cap.
Yeah, he was once again great casting. He just looks like a super soldier. You can see like that might have been the makeup, the gray eyebrows, but then his face itself doesn't look that old. You can tell that there's something that happened with them. There, it was once again great casting. Just physically, he was very good in the acting of it, especially when it comes to relaying the emotions, and the acting in of itself was really good. Now the dynamics. Mhm.
I was gonna say he looks like my neighbor.
He looks like your neighbor.
Yeah. Yeah.
Really? Yeah, sure. You should probably ask your neighbor if that man got
Oh,
experimented on, man. Maybe
I
a soldier. Dynamics. Which would you say is your favorite dynamic of all the, let's say, two-person dynamic? You got, Falcon and the Winter Soldier. You got, I want to throw in Zemo with somebody, but I'm not sure who I want to connect him with, because I feel like Zemo was probably my favorite character throughout the show.
he was a Nazi guy.
Yeah, the Nazi guy.
Uh,
Well, not the Nazi. He worked with Hydra, but yeah. Um, because I don't want to call him a
nice.
Nazi,
Yeah.
especially because there's a whole scene in here where he's talking to Falcon, and he's referencing some song. He was like, I think it might have been Marvin Gaye, just an older 1930s black singer, or 1960s 70s maybe. I can't remember specifically, but he was talking about how he encapsulated the African American experience. So, and I was like, all right, Zemo. Like that's another one where that weirdly, weirdly that line of dialogue didn't feel scripted to me. I'm not. It was on and off. It was more on than off. That's one of my biggest pet peeves with the show in and of itself. But speaking of the script, Nebs, what do you think of the storyline that encompassed this 6 episode span?
Really went from like pro America to almost anti America to just America with no context. But like it was very interesting. And I fucking wasn't expecting that. Like I had a feeling that would happen. Like once the police thing happened,
Hmm.
like oh, this is where it's going. And I was like, oh shoot. Well, I mean,
Well, we'll get more into the politics in the next one, but just like this is specifically the story that they decided to go with the Flag Smashers, and how just overall how they break out Zemo. Every story beat in and of itself, rather other than I know the race and how they deal with being captain. All of that is a big portion of it, but we'll get into that in just a few seconds. I want to focus specifically on the plot right now.
the plot was pretty good. But I mean, I could see it being realistic, and thus it is good.
Realistic is a
And
good
this
word to use.
like
I
people
I
fighting
didn't
the world like open borders thing logic.
yeah,
At least
I never really thought of realistic as the is realistic an adjective? Yeah, right.
what is an adjective?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Before we get into that, the realistic is just the descriptive word that I think really does describe this. And that's probably what they were going for. They were trying to tackle real life like issues that are happening right now, and they did do that. But the story in and of itself, originally, just for context, originally they were going to go with a pandemic storyline. Before the pandemic even happened, they had a whole storyline about how the Flag Smashers were out here distributing or doing something with vaccines and all of this other stuff, right? And this was before the pandemic. And then once it happened, they were thinking maybe it's not the best thing to have right now. So they kind of switched it up towards the end. And once again, this is more on the script. That felt noticeable to me. It felt to me that, especially towards the last 2 episodes, this was really rushed, and these 6 episodes just wasn't enough. I know there's almost definitely gonna be a season 2, but it just didn't feel like everything was packed in to me, or everything didn't feel like it was complete. Everything felt completed. Everything didn't feel as if it was earned.
I mean, I thought it was nicely paced. My favorite part of like the show was the last few episodes. Not even like because of
Mhm.
probably less so because of politics, just because of like what was happening, all the entertainment, all the action.
All right, on the politics, what do you think about what the show is doing when it attempts to really say something about the current state of the world when it comes to race, uh, I guess immigration, the whole border thing. That's what the Flag Smashers have been doing, and how they connected that to the Marvel Cinematic Universe as a whole.
Even know, but to be honest, I'm gonna let you go first. Give me 1 second.
I'm okay. When it comes to the race aspect, this is gonna really help out. I think that I was worried about it in the first 3 episodes. It felt shoved in, and it didn't feel like it was really working out, and especially in the first 3 episodes. But I would say the first 4 episodes. Episode 5 is a really tied in the race aspects for me. When they started to tie in the whole aspect of Falcon. Uh, this did occur to me. Falcon is a black man, and I was of course Falcon is a black man, but I was a bit worried that they wouldn't fully hit the landing when it comes to tying in his race and like why he doesn't want to be Captain America. And then there's a whole other aspect of that previous Steve Rogers and Bucky and how they're gonna react to that, or how they, or I mean, Steve Rogers is gone about how they're incorporated into that, like their white guild kind of. I was worried about how they were gonna tie that together because the first few episodes didn't really approach that much. It was of course hinted at, it was more in the background. Episode 4, that was almost that was the main focus, and I really enjoyed that episode. It's you guys automatically probably know it's pretty high up on my rankings personally, and it just tied in the race aspects together. Now, when it comes to what the Flag Smashers were, uh, and actually, one talking about storyline, we didn't get into the villains. I think the Flag Smashers were the weakest part of this show. The villains were absolute trash.
Damn.
I didn't like, not gonna lie, when that girl Carly, first of all, I didn't really like. I can understand hating a villain, right? Like, villains are usually meant to be hated. I didn't really. There's a sympathetic villain. There's a villain who has a point. Usually, most villains have some sort of point. And then there's like, I kind of hated Thanos, but not really. I saw Thanos' appeal. I saw what he was going for, right? And I wanted to watch him. Anytime Carly spoke, I was just mildly aggravated, and I just wanted her to stop speaking. When she died, I didn't feel a single ounce of emotion whatsoever.
Yeah, I hated that woman, bro. She was annoying as heck, but she was a good actor.
She, I mean, I don't have anything bad to say against actors. As I said, acting, casting, I think it was almost pitch perfect. Now, immigration wise, and what the Flag Smash was all about, that's where it felt to me that the show didn't 100% know what it was trying to say. Or even if it did, it just didn't get that across, where they're like, oh, you know what's the topic of today? Immigration. And then they're like, you know what? There's an entire group in the comics that are trying to make it the whole entire world one border. And then they're like, all right, we just got to add them in. That's what it feels like. It didn't feel like they had something deeper to say. When it comes to the race thing, while it was very overt at times, and it did get a bit annoying, especially in that, like, what, it's 4 or 5 minute long monologue that we spoke about earlier, which just plain out wasn't necessary. It felt layered. It felt like I knew what they were trying to say. The connections that it had back to the universe were there, where they were clear. I liked it. The immigration thing, I can see the connections. It wasn't fully connected. They tried to tie it back in with the race aspect when it comes to that final monologue. As I said, we've already gotten a bit into the monologue. It didn't 100% work for me. Now, Nebi, first of all, what do you think of the villains? What do you think of the Flag Smashers?
No, I don't want the villain to be too big, like came out of nowhere. I just wanted regular villains. I wanted some. I mean, it wasn't about the villains. It was about the heroes and the interactions with that Hydra guy and basically everybody. I kind of like that. It was kind of different. Um,
The I do agree that the show did focus a lot on the dynamics, as we talked about earlier, and I liked a lot of the dynamics. Zemo, as I said, is one of my favorite characters. I think the arc of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, they're the two characters and their relationships to each other. I think that was very well carried out. Every single beat of it, I think, was well paced, and by the end, I truly believed, okay, I get this friendship now, and I'm happy that they are friends. But the fact that the villain is there, you can't ignore that. They tried to make that a thing, and it just felt shoved in. It didn't feel fully realized, and I didn't really like that. It took me away at points.
one
That
thing I'll
might
say
just be me.
was like, usually when there's a main character who's black, it's gonna be about race, but straight up, like you can't just
Yeah.
have a superhero movie that's not about race, but it's kind of boring.
The
And plus,
thing is, when it
political. Honestly. Oh, go ahead.
I really that's something that automatically came to my mind. It was uh especially in the first few episodes, because this is about it, they brought up the race aspects, right? And then the OG Captain America, or not the OG, but the new Captain America, the guy with the punchable face, his sidekick was black. And as soon as I saw that, I was like, oh crap, there's going to be some sort of talk about this because, black sidekick, white hero. But then as it went on, it just made more sense. This is what I was talking about earlier with the race aspects clicked for me. Of course, they were overt at a lot of times, and I didn't. A lot of people don't like that. I personally didn't like it, especially as I said in the monologue scene. And there are a lot of other points, but like having that black sidekick with the white hero, and then later on coming all the way back to that when it comes to, oh, I, as the Falcon, as the Black Falcon, as you are named in this call, as I just realized, Black Falcon. Uh, I, as the Black Falcon, can I be a white hero? This white hero right here, he has his black sidekick, and that's what we've been told we work best as. And as it went on, it all clicked for me. As I'm speaking, I completely forgot. What were you talking about? Or how did I get to this?
I forget.
I mean, as I listen back, as I edit, I'll figure out. I just completely forgot how I got there.
What I'm saying is, I don't even know if it's really partisan. I mean, what I want is like, I don't want politics into everything, but I don't even know if it's political really. But
Oh,
I guess the shooting, it
okay.
kind of made it look like a
I remember now.
Might be partisan issue.
The thing is, I didn't want the politics in it, but as the politics got put into it, I was like, that makes 100%. Think about Captain America. Think about all of the Captain America movies. They all are political in one facet or another. OG Captain America, it takes place during World War II. That's automatically, in some way, political. People have opinions on war. People have opinions on Captain America being the mascot of America. That in and of itself is political. Captain America, the Winter Soldier, this is the Winter Soldier. He comes back, and the entire thing is about Shield has been infiltrated by Hydra. The government has been infiltrated by Hydra. That is political. Captain America and Civil War, that is quite possibly the most political of the three. Do I need to even explain that one? It's two sides on a piece of legislation. That's just Captain America in it of itself. That's just how it's built. Captain America, he is the face of America. There is a lot of politics in it of that. And it just made sense for me that this was a political thing. And with Black Falcon, it made sense for it to go that route with how can I be a black Captain America? That made sense to me. Of course, I don't always want that, but it clicked.
Yeah, I feel you. You might not understand what I'm about to say, but what I'm gonna say is, I don't like what Marvel did with Jordan Peterson. That's how I'm gonna say, bro.
I'm going to leave that off. I'm just going to leave it at that because I feel that can go in many different directions, which I might not want to get into right now. But with that being said, why don't we get into our lists? Nebi, you got your list ready?
Yeah, I have it in my head.
All right, cool, man. Now, let's go reverse order. The episodes are episode 1, New World Order, episode 2, The Star Spangled Banner, episode 3, Power Broker, episode 4, The Whole World is Watching, episode 5, Truth, and episode 6, One World, One People. Just for a quick refresher to both us and the people watching, I'm going to go ahead and read the About section of the Google page. These are all about one sentence, and they might not actually help at all, but maybe they'll refresh you in some way. For episode 1, the About section is Sam Wilson and Bucky Barnes realize their futures will be anything but normal. For episode 2, John Walker is named Captain America, and Sam and Bucky team up against a mysterious rebel group. Episode 3, Sam and Bucky go to a criminal safe haven to find information about the super soldier serum. Episode 4, John Walker loses patience with Sam and Bucky as they learn about Carly Morgenthau. Episode 5, John Walker faces consequences for his actions. Sam and Bucky return to the United States. And episode 6 has no description here because it just came out, and I don't think they want to really possibly spoil anything, especially since it is the final episode and it can't be described without any spoilers. But with that, Nebs, you want to go first or you want me to go first with my individual rankings?
Oh, the whole. I was gonna say it all.
Yeah, we're just
All
gonna
one.
say it in order, and then we'll talk about it more in when we are coming to a consensus.
Okay.
All right, for me, I in sixth place I have the first episode, which is New World Order. In fifth place, I have the sixth and final episode, which is One World, One People. In fourth place, I have the second episode, The Star Spangled Banner. In third place, I have the fourth episode, The Whole World is Watching. In second place, I have the third episode, Power Broker. And surprise, surprise, in first place, I have the one that I've spoken the most about in the fifth episode, Truth. Now, Nebs, what are your rankings looking like right now, individually speaking?
Man. Number one, I mean, number six. I'll say episode two. Number five. I'll say episode three.
Power
Number
Broker.
four. I'm gonna say episode one, and then we're going to the top three. Number three. I'm gonna say episode. I'm gonna say episode five.
Mhm.
And number two, I'm gonna say episode six. And number one, episode four.
Our rankings are pretty different. And one thing I was thinking about, because me and you don't always agree on media products, especially movies and shows. There are definitely some places where we do agree. You can go back to our Harry Potter series. We agreed a lot there.
Right.
Now,
Well, we were going crazy with that.
we were going crazy with that one. But I was a bit worried because when it comes to the WandaVision, we had a mediator kind of in Andrew who could kind of split us, who could make us go one way or another. Here, it is just me and you. We're going to have to convince the other. Overall, our lists are looking pretty different, but when it comes to similarities, I think that in last place, it's gonna have to be either episode one or episode two because I know both of us have episodes one and two and sixth and fourth place respectively. I have it. I have episode one and six. You have episode one and fourth. I have episode two and fourth, and you have episode two and sixth.
What? No way. We have everything. Cause wait a minute.
Oh, I just realized all of our stuff are just switched around, but
Yeah.
it's
That's
yo. That's cool. That is cool. So fifth place I have six, and then you have in second place six. And okay, that's cool. But of episode one and two, clearly I think episode one is worse, and clearly you think episode two is worse. Now,
so two.
the thing is, when it comes to episode one, I don't really think much happened. I don't think it's necessarily a bad episode, but in my rankings, I think I'll put it at the bottom because it is first of all the most forgettable. A whole bunch doesn't happen. That's the one that if somebody were to say rewatch one of these episodes from any of these, it's a whole bunch of exposition. Why would I want to rewatch that? Episode two, we get the first what I would say good fight scene, and when it comes to Cap and or Falcon, I'm already starting to call him Cap before the end of the thing. Oh, did you realize at the end of the sixth episode they changed the title to Captain America and the Winter Soldier?
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, that was
Oh, that's
yeah,
that's.
yeah, that's
But
cool.
what's crazy? Like his name is well, what they call him was Uncle Sam because his name is Sam.
Uncle Sam.
That his
Yo,
called him that.
that's I've never realized that. That's cool.
He said that like 4 times.
But episode two, it has the first good fight scene in my opinion when it comes to first, and also episode one, Captain America and the Winter Soldier aren't, or Falcon and the Winter Soldier aren't even together. This is when they meet up. They go and fight Carly Morgenthau and the other Flag Smashers before we know they're even them, and we know that before we even know they're super soldiers on top of the bus. So you remember that fight scene, and then afterwards there was that whole dynamic of them going out. They continue to look for who these people are. It was the first one where the action really started to occur. Whereas episode one was just a bunch of exposition. Nothing really happened there for me. And that's kind of why I have it in from last place.
Wait, what happened in episode two though? Yeah, remind me about what happened there.
I just said everything that happened in episode two. Everything that I said is episode two. Episode
Like,
1 is genuinely nothing. It's just them walking around. Episode 1 is Falcon gives up the shield to the government, and then he goes to his sister's house, and then he's just at his sister's house for the rest of the episode, and they're talking about the boat and stuff. And then also I realized the boat, that's gotta be a symbol or like an allegory for races that, like, well, at some level, right? The whole idea of slaves coming over on boats, and
what?
they're out here
Uh,
fixing a boat. I might be digging a bit too deep there. I feel like if the director chose to have a boat, or the screenwriters chose to have a boat, that just doesn't come out of nowhere. Why couldn't it just have been like a broken down house that they were fixing? Like, it's I feel like could have
gonna
been a
find
whole black man
out.
in San Francisco, last black man in San Francisco type deal, but they chose a boat.
There's no way that this man Falcon does not get paid millions a year, but like this man can definitely pay for a boat. Shit.
I mean, government workers aren't always the richest of people. But episode 1, that's pretty much happens there with him. And when it comes to Bucky, he goes to his therapist, talks to his therapist. He goes out with a girl, which I completely forgot about it after the episode. Yeah, he goes out with that Asian girl, and then
Oh,
we kind of get revealed that he killed that Asian dude's the Asian grandfather's son,
yeah.
and
Higher show.
that is revealed. That there's not a lot of action. There's not a lot of anything moving forward the plot in episode 1.
Yeah, since number two had that Asian thing, but that was really good. Like, I guess they could have done more with that, to be honest, because like that
Yeah,
was
that was one of my bigger problems with the show. It's not necessarily the pacing of the show in it of itself. Like, as I was watching, I didn't find myself like bored because of how the show is paced and how everything unfolded, but it was more of how everything was written, where the beginning and ending, like, it's deceptive in that it opens everything, and then everything that is opened gets closed, right? But everything in the middle, it just doesn't have that same level of uh exposure throughout. Where, as you said, like the Asian guy, he's brought up in the first episode, talked about a bit in the second episode, disappears for the middle four, and then randomly comes back at the end of the last. And that's the same thing with a few of these other things. When it comes to the house and the boat, for Falcon, that's there for the majority. It's not as out there as the Asian dude and his son, but it's still, there's like a 1 or 2 episode span in there where they're just not talked about at all. That entire span, it's boat is there. There's like a 1 or 2 episode span where nothing about the boat is spoken of. It's just in the middle. Everything isn't at the same level, and that did piss me off a bit when it comes to the storyline, which I felt a few episodes were needed. 6 episodes, I'm not sure why it was so little. You were talking about this when you hopped on the call. It didn't feel like 6 episodes was enough, right?
no. I feel like 6 episodes was enough. I feel like the
Or
still good.
I
I
feel like
mean,
at least 1 or 2 more episodes would have helped with that middle chunk, which didn't feel complete to me, at least.
I feel like the first 3 episodes were really the pacing wasn't great.
Okay. Now, are
I'll
we
be going to pit number one on last place.
are you cool with that?
If I bet
We're making a deal here. If what?
we
I
can't
realized
pit,
we
we
made a
can't
lot
pit.
of deals in the last one.
What do you say?
We in the last Wandavision ranking. I like, as I was listening back in the day, I realized that we were making deals about if we go with this there, then that. I didn't realize that as we were going along. But okay, Wanda, episode 1 in last place. If what?
You gotta bring number three down. Like you gotta get down 2 spaces, please. But
Okay, let me see. What was back? Let me get a refresher on episode 3. Sam and Bucky go to a criminal safe haven to find information about the super soldier serum. Hold up. This is the one where Zemo is introduced, right? He breaks out of prison. They go to, I can't remember the name of the place, but they go to like the criminal underlord town. Like, they just go to that whole city, right? This is, I might have to move this up, quite frankly. This is the most action packed one. This is probably the most enjoyable to me. It is the one where, once again, plot beats, right? Wise. most plot beats are revealed here. The whole Zemo thing is introduced. The entire power broker, which power broker, that's another thing that felt shoved in. Again, Sharon Carter's a power broker. Okay, whatever. It seems like that was something that was kind of there to make it ready for the next season. I feel that's going to be more explored in the next season, but power broker wasn't anything. But either way, it was introduced here. That fight scene with the power broker and or yeah, now I'm calling Sharon Carter the power broker, with Sharon Carter and the other people that were going after Zemo, Bucky, and Falcon. That was a great fight scene. All of the decisions that Zemo made would this is also, if I'm not mistaken, Nebi, is this episode or the following episode where they go to no, that is this episode. They go to the guy with all the that made the super soldier serums and
Yeah.
they interrogate him, right? And then this might be the next episode, but afterwards they go and no, the end of this episode was Carly Morgenthau blowing up the place, right? That was either the end of this one or the next one. Either way, it was tied in. She was tied in here. This is when they first started getting introduced. I feel like this is the most action-packed one. I'm willing to
All
move
right,
it to
never mind
third
it.
place. I'm willing to move it to third.
All right, how about we move? Let's just move number two to fifth place. I'll be
All right,
just.
yeah, I'm cool with that. Let's move number 2 to fifth place. So,
All right, let's
all right, so
go.
we have 1 and 2, New World Order and Star Spangled Banner, sixth and fifth place. Now,
No, I
okay,
don't think it happened in episode 6 and 3. But we know what happened in episode 6.
yeah, wait, yeah,
Solid.
yeah, we know what happened in episode 6. The thing is, episode 6, I think 3 should definitely be above 6, especially when it comes to the first like 20-25 minutes. That was just like one extended battle scene, right? It had,
Yeah.
I wouldn't call this a problem because this was a problem in WandaVision. And I made a video about this because WandaVision was a show that marketed itself as different. Throughout the first few episodes, it was kind of weird or like weird in quotation marks. And that's how a lot of people explained it. And it was eccentric in what it was doing. And then in the final episode and a half, they just became Marvelized. They just started having this big battle scene that just felt straight out of another Marvel movie. It just didn't feel rightly placed. Here, the battle scene feels rightly placed. The battle scenes that they have, they're some of the better ones of the show. A whole bunch of the stuff didn't hit for me on an emotional level as it should have.
Yeah.
And I might be docking it a bit there for that. I'm willing to. Okay, what happened in episode 4? I might be. Wait, I think episode 4 is consensus upper. Episode 5 is also consensus upper 3.
Wait,
Okay,
yeah, I have a question. You remember the Seinfeld girl who's in the show?
yeah.
What? Oh, but like, what
Oh,
she
what is
do?
her role? Okay. This is a bit more going into the comics. She is, I'm not sure if it's girlfriend or if it's marriage or anything, but she is, oh no, not even close, not girlfriend or marriage. She is pretty much, I don't know where I got that from. She is the opposite of blanking on the name, Samuel L. Jackson's character.
Oh, is she evil?
Not evil, like opposite in that they're both like personality wise, I guess. But you can do more research about that after we're done. But that's another one where I think that's set up for the following season, where she works in the government. She's more of why am I blanking on the name? What is his name? I even said it earlier in the episode. Who does Samuel Jackson play? Director Nebi. How am I blanking on this right now?
Samuel Jackson is director of Shield, though.
Yeah, but like, what is his name?
Oh, his name is Samuel L. Jackson. No?
Listen, Nebi. You Oh, but he's very far on the cast for the OG Avengers, which makes sense. But uh, maybe it'll come back to me. But okay, I am willing to put. Episode 3 at fourth place. If you put episode 4 at third place.
No, episode 4 was my favorite episode.
All right. Okay.
Kidding me? You're
Hold on,
trying to.
bro. Let's do this before we move on in the third, second, and first place ones. Let's or third and second place. Let's get our first place down. Let's come to a consensus on which is our consensus personal favorites or consensus favorites. Curse consensus personal favorites. Kind of contradictory. You have 4. I have 5. Episode 4. That is where
Your number 5 is in fourth place. Interesting.
John Walker loses patience with Sam and Bucky as they learn more about Carly Morgenthau. Is this the one where at the end, wait. Yeah, at the end, John Walker kills that dude, right? What else happens in here? Make the case for episode 4, Nebi.
Yeah. Okay. So, they have the conversation with the girl. That everybody's there. The dynamics happen. It really goes into. My favorite character was probably John Walker, and it goes really into depth with his character. I
Mhm.
was satisfied when he killed that guy. I'm not gonna lie. Like I thought he wasn't gonna do it. I was like, damn,
That dude desecrated the shield, and you're like, that man is my hero.
no, I mean, like, I could feel for that character, and I like the black guy. No one ever talks about that black guy.
Okay, yeah, this is the episode that focuses the most on John Walker. Personally, I think John Walker's arc is one of the better ones of the show. By the end, I'm not gonna lie, I didn't like him as much as you did as the show went on, went. I think he was intended to be a bit more of an antagonistic character in the first few episodes, and in the last 2 episodes, that was more of his redemptive arc or the redemptive part of his arc, and I think that worked out well. By the end, when he is with that whole "oh, I'm an agent now" and he's super happy, that part, I felt good for him. I guess emotionally speaking, I guess that's one of the parts that worked for me, and that hit on an emotional level. And I was like, well, not like on a deep emotional level, but I was like, okay, I am cool with that. I'm happy that he's getting better now. His whole recovery from his friend's death, I wouldn't say it's rushed. I feel like there was like it to me. It feels there was one beat in there that might have been skipped over, and that's goes back to my whole issue with the middle portions. But you want to continue to make your case for the fourth episode to be higher up?
I mean, let's negotiate. Let's go back to the Excel page.
All right, for me, the fifth episode, as I said, that's the one where probably most thematically speaking, everything clicked for me. I am willing to move it down only because plot wise, it's not necessarily moving a whole bunch of things forward on a large plot scale. On a character and how the characters deal with the plot scale, it does. And I guess that does move stuff forward on the plot scale. But overall, and especially towards the end, it felt a bit rushed to me, and it led into why I feel episode 6 is much lower for me, and it felt super rushed. Episode 4, I think we're kind of here consensus on first and second place, episode 4 and 5, right? We both have them in first and third. I am willing to put episode 4 in first place
Oh, okay. I'll put
because of
I'm gonna
the
put episode 6 in third place.
in third place.
Yeah.
Hold on, okay. I'm willing to put episode 4 in first place if episode 6 goes in fourth place.
Fourth place? You're kidding me. What?
Yeah, because that means
But
if we put episode 4 in first place, I am willingly moving out my first place spot of episode 5, and I'm moving out my second place spot of episode 3.
but is wait, why do you think episode 6 is that bad?
Uh, First, as I've said, it feels a bit rushed. The first 25 minutes, the battle scenes are fine and all, but they're not great on any level, and they're not they're engaging, more engaging than I found them in WandaVision. I'm not sure what it is. There's just something about them that's just not fully hitting for me. I I just personally think that I was most enthralled and I was most engaged in the middle episodes, and then the ending, it kind of happened, and I could tell in the back of my mind they're really just prepping a lot for the following season, and I just kind of went along the motions with the final like 10-15 minutes. On a plot scale, I feel episode 5 works pretty well. On a character scale, which is pretty much what the show is about. You've said yourself the characters are probably the best aspect of the show, or the dynamics were some of your favorite aspects. I think episode 5 is the peak of that. And I'm for sure think that it's at least second place. I'm willing to give you first place with fourth, but that's only if you're willing to move your sixth place down to fourth, because I'm when I put my fifth place down to second, that means I'm moving my third place and my episode 3, which is my second place, also down, and I am moving, or we're just gonna consensus put episode 4 in second place, or episode 4 goes in first, right? And what I'm proposing is this: episode 4 in first place. In second place, we have episode 5. In third place, we have episode, where are we at, 3. And then fourth place,
Ah,
we have episode 6.
yeah, oh, hold up. I'm close to agreeing with this.
Okay.
1, 6, 3, 5, 4, 6.
The thing is, I by doing this, I am moving. Well, I'm forcing you to move your fifth place up one, which I can see how that.
You think episode 6 is better than episode 3? Like, objective.
Okay, let me see. Let me go back. Episode 3. No, I went on a whole spiel earlier on about this. Episode 3 is probably the most action packed one.
Oh, you did, yeah.
It is like, this is the one that I think is the most engaging. Episode 3, I did put in second place overall. I'm willing to move my second place down to third place, and my first place, which is my personal favorite, down to second place, to give you the first place spot, which is pretty big. I'm giving your episode first place. I liked the episode too, but I didn't like it as much, and I'm giving it to you. And by moving my 2 down, I'm trying to make it equal by moving the 6 back. Because
No.
I'm still moving episode 6 up. I originally had it in fifth place. I'm moving it up to fourth place.
All right, let's do it. Shake my hand.
All right, I'm shaking your hand
It
virtually,
is
I guess.
true.
All right, so
All right, let's go.
final rankings. We have in sixth place, episode 1, New World Order. In fifth place, episode 2, The Star Spangled Banner. In fourth place, episode 6, One World, One People. In third place, episode 3, Power Broker. In second place, episode 5, Truth. And in first place, episode 4, The Whole World is Watching. Nebs, I feel we had a very civilized discussion there, and we were able to come to the consensus.
Yeah.
Now, before we get into the final section, you want to give a numerical rating to the show now that we've talked about it a bit more. You gave it a B in letter grade. As I've said before, there's a bit of a disparity between the two when it comes to letter grade and numerical grade and how they're perceived. I gave it a B minus, just because so I won't put you on the spot. I am gonna go ahead and say I will give the show a, well, let me, when it comes to WandaVision, I gave it a 8 out of 10, which now thinking back, I would move down to a 7.5 or a 7 out of 10. And you gave it a 6.5 out of 10.
Yeah.
Now, I am going to give uh, I am going to give Falcon and the Winter Soldier a 7.25 out of 10.
7.25. That's a good number. I might have to be more gracious to that. In that,
Makes sense.
I might have to give it a 7.5, bro.
7.5 out of 10. I think that overall we think we both think fairly similarly about the show. I think we both enjoyed it. We both know it's not the greatest piece of work, but it's pretty good. Now, I'm going to bring up a question that I brought up in our last episode too. Last episode, I mean Wandavision. I know you've been falling off of the Marvel wheel a little bit, right? Now, the future slate of Marvel, shows wise, is Loki and What If. Now, What If isn't really a show, so I'm going to focus on Loki. Are you looking forward to Loki now that you've seen two of the three kind of, I know it's not phase one, but like shows wise, first phase Marvel shows?
To be honest, I'm not looking forward to Loki. Um, there's just nothing really about it that's like I'm looking forward. Like I was never one of the the Loki
Mm,
fan heads.
well,
I thought he was a
I
cool
am.
character. I didn't really think the show about him. Wait, why? I wasn't too big a fan.
Loki is in a similar boat to Falcon and the Winter Soldier in that I do not know what the plot is really going to be
Yeah,
about.
that's a
And
good thing.
that, well, I have some idea, but not a lot. And that is going to have a lot to do with, I'm going to watch it no matter what, because I'm a very big Marvel fan and I pretty much watch everything they put out. And I'm going to watch it no matter what. I'm going to do an episode on it on this podcast right here. We're going to talk about it. I'm not sure if Nevi's going to watch it, but Loki, I, I'm not sure how much I'm looking forward to. Loki is my favorite villain. Thanos is still probably the best villain, just quality wise thinking and how well they were constructed. Loki is my favorite. He's close to best in my opinion
In the Marvel universe or just like
in the
straight up?
Marvel universe. Marvel universe. Uh, Character wise, he is a very complex and intriguing character who has brought me a lot of joy. Off of that, I am looking forward to it. I'm not sure what to look forward to though. That's the thing, if that makes sense.
Yeah, the trickery. I want to see some trickery. That's what he's known for.
Now, we talked about this a bit in the 2021 anticipated podcast. The future slate of Marvel flicks is looking like Spider-Man No Way Home. We have the Eternals coming. We have Shang-Chi coming. Did you see the trailer for Shang-Chi?
That joint was heat, bro.
Yo, you
Like,
saw it? Yes, sir. You know, bro. That I am so hyped for that film now. It
but
looks great.
um,
It looks like a mix of, if this makes sense, a mix of both Doctor Strange and Captain America. Like style wise, that's what it feels like to me. And I like both of those films. I know you love Doctor Strange. I'm really hyped for it.
yeah, man, that the music, the fighting looks amazing. Like,
It does.
I just move like Marvel fighting.
It actually, I want to throw in another one in that analogy I just made. I want to throw in Thor because it feels like they're gonna have the father son dynamic in there in Thor and his dad. That's
Yeah.
another. I'm really, that might have moved up in my list of 2021 anticipate. I think that just moved into my top five. I can't remember exactly what was at fifth place, but that just got kicked out for this. And I think that would be similar for you too because you weren't even really looking forward to like half the movies on your top five anticipated.
It's all like it's a character we know nothing about. At least I know nothing about.
Hmm.
Like finally, like Marvel has been using characters that they started off with for too long, but they gotta make some new characters.
Yeah. And
But I
this
don't know.
is
In the Marvel universe, like it's kind of strange.
yeah. Uh we were talking about if we're ever gonna get another solo like origin Marvel movie like the Iron Mans and the Thors of the world again. We were thinking no, but I mean I guess this is it right here. And I'm looking
True.
forward to it, man.
Yeah, there wasn't it supposed to be the Iron Fist after this? That movie was a flop.
I'm pretty sure Iron Fist is a show and the show was a flop.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Marvel Iron Fist. That was, oh, that's a bad show apparently. But Nebi, we've already talked a bit about whether we're looking forward to season two. We are about to wrap up the episode. Do you have anything else to say?
Well, I thought it was a pretty good movie. I don't know what they could do with this episode. I've been in season two, but like, They built the boat. The ship has sailed, I should say. That's that beautiful quote. The ship has sailed.
Yes,
It says,
sir. All right, Nebs, thanks so much for the insight. This is a wrap on episode 42, Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Peace.
streaming on all platforms.